All right. So I was talking to a buddy of mine, Lucas. He's a student at McCombs at the University of Texas in Austin, and there's just a couple of things that I want to show him. But this is for anyone who's interested. So with R, there have been a set of tools that have been created that make a lot of the base R functions, in my eyes, a bit obsolete. It's a new and cleaner way of writing code. I really enjoy it. And there's been a set of packages that have come out that kind of build off of this Tidyverse package. So I'm just going to introduce it to you here real quick. First off, there is, if you just Google Tidyverse, you can look at all the packages that are actually available. dplyr is really good for data manipulation, and this is like the essential part of Tidyverse that I would suggest you learn. The second most important, I think, is ggplot, which is what has basically made our graphics so wonderful, plots and the such. Um, Tibble is a uh, kind of a replacement for the data frame in R. Um, it's a bit cleaner and neater, and it also yells at you more, which is good. um, Reader, it's for importing data. Per and tidyr we can get into a little bit later. Okay, so let's just jump in, and we are going to load the Tidyverse package, which loads all of those packages that you'd seen before. And then we are also going to load Tidyquant. Actually, as you can see, you have all these different tidy packages that have been kind of created to be used with this Tidyverse package. So let's load both of those. All right, so why is Tidyverse great? Well, let's just take the empty cars data set, which just will always kind of show up in R. It's always going to be loaded for you. In the past, if you wanted to create a new column, you could say this is, I don't know, weight divided by mpg is equal to empty cars, $ weight divided by empty cars divided by mpg. That's all great, but honestly, I hate those $signs, and getting this out of the picture would really make writing code a lot cleaner. But that's one way you can create a new column. There are ways of filtering data. So, for example, in the past, you would filter data by saying empty cars and then empty cars mpg greater than 21, and then run that, and then you just get the cars that are greater than 21. It's been so long that I've actually nearly forgotten how to sort, but let's see. So we've got empty cars, and then, oh, what was it? Empty cars, mpg, was it rank, sort? Oh, geez, I don't even know. I've completely forgotten. So, okay, so you want to sort data set in R. This is how you like figure everything out. Order, that's what it was. Order. And actually, I'm jumping the gun here. I'm showing things that I haven't talked about yet. Okay, so order, and then we pop that here. It's going to select those columns that we want, and see it comes back as this. Point being, this sucks. So let's learn a new way of doing these things. The first thing I want to show you is the pipe, which can be read as and then. I'm drinking wine. Okay, so just to show you the pipe real quick, this is something that comes from the package Magritter, library Magritter, M-A-G-R. But it loads up with the Tidyverse. However, the Magritter package is built to kind of use this pipe, which I'll show you in a second. Okay. So for example, say we have a vector of numbers 1 to 10. Okay. Instead of saying, okay, take the max of 10 using this function, here we can say, okay, build the numbers 1 through 10 and then take the max. This is great because this makes very readable code, but you end up not having to deal with is something like max head 1 through 10. Instead, it's take 1 through 10 and then take the head and then give me the max number. And so it makes this just super readable code. If you hit Shift Command M on Mac, then it'll just pop out that pipe. Shift Command M, Shift Command M. There's a shortcut for Windows. I just don't know what it is. So let's get into this. All right. So we have this iris data set. And actually, let's just open up dplyr real quick. So dplyr, we can see some of these different functions here. There's a whole lot of different tools that make data wrangling super easy. So for example, there's a couple verbs that are, or functions that are super useful. So let's take iris, and then let's just look at the column names. Actually, so let's do empty cars. Okay. Let's look at the head here. So let's filter AM equal to 1. Actually, I'm going to open this up. AM equal to 1 and MPG greater than 21. So now we've got AM are all equal to 1, MPG greater than 1, and then how about we do like horsepower, I don't know, horsepower less than 100. All right, so now we've just subsetted all this data, however we've decided to designate it here. And then, we're going to mutate, which means create new column. So now let's create that other column we'd done earlier. So MPG div MPG div weight is equal to MPG divided by weight. All right. See over here we've got MPG divided by weight. And then once we're done, let's select MPG div weight, MPG weight, and I don't know, drat. Oh, drap. I can't do drap. And so you see how we can very quickly kind of subset some of this data. However, there's just a ton of stuff you could do. This is simply touching the surface. You could do like some sort of like select if is dot numeric for each column, and then it's only going to give us back these, or is dot factor. I don't even know if there's any factors in this. No, there's not any factors. However, if we did iris and did as factor, then we would get back just the factors, or is dot numeric here. So this is just simply touching the surface, though. For example, if we looked at the New York City flights, I think that it's flights here. We could do, and I'm only going to use dplyr functions here. So we're just going to call this flights is equal to that. Let's look at the head of flights. Let's take flights, and then mutate date is equal to paste 0 month dash day dash year. All right, so let's look at that. And over here we've got this date, but let's also use lubridate, library lubridate. Oh, what am I doing? Library lubridate. Take a sip of wine because it's delicious. And we'll use, and then use the MDY function, which converts something to a month, day, year. For example, say I had 01 dash, oh goodness, 01 dash 01 dash 217. That is a character. If we did MDY, that would then convert it to a class of date, which makes plotting nice and easy. So let's see here. So now we've got a date, and then we don't really care much about year, month, and day now. So we can say select minus year, minus month, minus day. And then for good measure, we could also say, and then select date, and then put everything after that. So what have I done here? Maybe I understand this less than I thought. Oh, hold on. I see. So we're going to get rid of those all together. And then we're going to select date, try everything here, but then not have year, month, day. No, I can't. Oh, comma. Date. Did we get rid of year, month, and day? It looks like it. Okay, cool. Anyways, we don't care much. It's just things you can do. Okay, so now that we've done that, let's, we could either say this is a variable or we just keep going down the pipe. Now that we've done that, we can say group by date, okay. And then let's just count. So we're going to summarize, which takes a summary of some sort of statistics. Like, for example, if I said, see, we can see here on different dates, there's different departure times. Not that it would be very useful for me to do an average. We can do like average airtime for each. So we can say like average airtime by date is equal to mean airtime. And we're just going to get back, a dot rm equals true. Get like an average airtime by date. That's not very useful. What I do think is useful though is to end flights. So each row is a flight. So let's just count all of the flights. Or sorry, let's just do n here. So now we have a date and the amount of flights. So let's flights by date. So then we can say like plot flight, just to get a quick look at it. If we did type equals L, we can see that there's some sort of like some like weekly periods here. We could further subset this data if we wanted to. So let's just do filter. What was the column named there? Flights by date. Filter date less than MDY 01 0 2 0 1 201 3. And let's see here. This is 31, so that's good. And then we could say ggplot, and then flights by date. Aesthetics are x equals to date, y equals to end flights, and then geom line. And so now all we've done is just done a simple count of how many flights for each day, and now we can kind of see that probably during the week there's more flights. I wonder what this dip is here. So we might even be able to do something like, is there a day function? So like 01-01-2019. That would be MDY. That's our day. So that's the first day. Let's just do this. Let's say, let's see, get day name looper date. I wonder if there's a way we can find the day of the week. So what is this? Weekdays. So let's try, yeah. Oh, weekdays. Tuesday. Let's see. Let's try geom bar, and then no, let's not do any of that. Let's just do this. Flights by date. Okay. Mutate day of week is equal to weekdays and date. And then we can say arrange. Here we go. Here's a arrange descending in flights. Oh, sorry. I think we can just do, yeah. So it looks like maybe Saturday is the most or the least popular day. So maybe Saturdays have the least amount of traveling, and then let's see, Wednesday, Monday, Thursday. I guess it seems to just kind of stick around about the same for these. But anyway, so that's dplyr. Let's open up Tidyquant. So there is a, let's see, Tidyquant here, Tidyquant, TQ, get options. Okay, so this is what you look at to see what kind of stuff you can find in Tidyquant. We're going to use a function tqget. Tqget. Oh, geez. Get. There we go. So X is probably a ticker. The get is what we're actually looking for, and then complete cases will prevent you from like getting back into NA, so just probably cut out those lines. So let's look at, oh, just give me something. Let's look at Apple and Amazon. And let's say get stock prices. So if this just runs, then we'll end up getting back a data frame here of these stock prices in what would be considered a tidy format. So what that means is that, at least in this case, that it makes it easy to plot stuff and to visualize it. And every every row is its own observation. So let's see here. So we get this data back, data, stock data is equal to this. It's really easy to visualize. So we could say ggplot stock data, aesthetics. Well, I need the column name, so stock data head symbol, and then we're going to do symbol and adjusted. So x equals symbol, y equals adjusted. And then we're going to say, let's see, color. The guy who wrote this is from New Zealand. That's why symbol, that should split it up. And then geom line. What am I doing here? Oh, oh, duh. Next is date. There we go. So now we can, see these two different things plotted against each other. We could use our dplyr skills to kind of get a subset of this. What's kind of cool is that you could even do something like, not that you would do the log of the, well, I mean, yeah, I guess you could in some instances do the log of the adjusted, but you could also just do functions on these columns if you wanted to. Not that you ever would, but log with the adjusted, and then you could do like, multiple functions into here. That would just reverse everything that you've just done, but it's things that you can do nonetheless. Okay, so let's check something else out. So let's do financials, and then TQ get ops get, and then what were our options over here? So we've got let's do key ratios. TQ get okay, we need to make this vector AAPL and AMCN. And let's do key dot get key ratios, and let's just call that get. All right, so let's look at it. We've got key ratios here, and we get these symbols back, we get sections back, and then we get data back. So what we're looking at here, nested data frames. Basically it's like take this Excel spreadsheet and then just put it into one little cell. This makes data really, really nice and tidy. We just have to know how to deal with it. So let's just show you a separate example. So let's open up Iris. All right. I could say nest everything but species. So now I have, for each species, all of that data that was in that data set for each row is now in its own little separate column. So if I were to, say we filter species equal to Setosa, well, now I just get that, and then I can say let's unnest data. Now this was completely pointless because I just packed it all up and then unpacked it, but that's kind of the the way that you would do these things. Or say, let's see here, let's use empty cars for this example. Let's say group by versus an AM. Those look simple enough, and then let's try nest, see what happens. Okay, so if we group by these things here, these two columns, then it's going to find all these unique combinations, and then it's going to create a a separate data set for each of these. So if we You know, we could just unnest data and then go right back to where we were. Or we could say, you know, I don't know, select filter versus equal to 0 and then a nest or something. I don't know. I mean, it's just a way of tidying things up and making things clean. So this is how this data is coming back into key ratios here. But let's do this. Let's just look at let's try profitability. So let's select filter section, which is the column name, section equal to what did I say, profitability, Profitabili. So now that we have these two, we're only looking at profitability. Let's just unnest the data and see what we're looking at here. And then let's look at subsection. So we're going to pull subsection, which is just like list that column, and then let's just look at the different types of subsections. So it just says that there's two subsections for profitability. So let's go back and nest data. Why don't we plot the margin of sales for, let's see here, what have we got? Group 16. Here we go. Categories. There we go. That's what I was looking for. So I don't know. Let's look at the EBIT margin. So filter category equal to EBIT margin. So now we're only looking at that for, we have Amazon and Apple in there. So then why don't we try just throw it into ggplot. Aesthetics, x equals date, y equals value, color is equal to symbol, and geom line, not len line. So now we're looking at the EBT margins for you know, Apple and Amazon together. We just randomly pulled out, you know, one you know, measure of profitability, but there's many more, and we've filtered the amount of data that we have down to a ridiculously small subsection of it all. So we could kind of go back here. Let's look at something else, key ratios. We could look at filter section equal to efficiency. Okay, and then let's just unnest everything. What if we just wanted to plot everything just because we're feeling crazy like that? ggplot, aesthetics, date, x equals date. Should have the values, yeah. Y equals value, color is equal to category. This might just look completely ridiculous. Probably will. Geom line. Yeah, actually, we have the color is equal to category, but we should also consider the fact that this is for two different companies. So let's do this. Let's filter section equals symbol to APL. There we go. So these are all the different ratios for Apple. It doesn't really make sense to plot all these at once, and unless you're kind of looking at some sort of like comparative thing. But you can do it, and then we could, you could do one for Amazon as well, and just pick out whatever is important to you just by filtering the stuff. Yeah, so that's kind of some of the stuff that you can do with Tidyquant. Obviously, there's going to be a lot more, but I think that at least if you're a business student over there at McCombs, which is who I'm making this for, you could immediately see the usefulness in using this for making plots for some sort of comparison between companies and whatever else, especially whenever you get into that financial capstone course where you have to do a lot of research. This is a really quick way of pulling those numbers out, and now I think that you should at least have a idea of how to do it. Let's see, there's key stats here. Why don't we just check that out real quick? So just gonna key that stats, and then going to copy this, but then put that back. So let's come down here. What's going on here? Oh, this is because I think Yahoo is turned to crap. Yeah, I don't think that we can do that anymore because because Yahoo's turned off all of their stock data. There's some other ways to get the key stats we can talk about later if you want. Well, I can't just leave it here with something going wrong. Let's look at dividends. So let's do stock data. Actually, just dividends. Yeah, there's the dividends. And actually, okay, here's another kind of cool function that we could use. We could use our stock data. Hold on, that says stock data. That says stock data. Let's call that stock data. Let's call this div data. Okay, stock data. All right, so we have the stock data, but we don't have the dividend data. So let's do left join div data. And then hopefully we will have dividends on the correct days. We need to make sure symbol and date, yeah. Pull dividends. Then so we do have the dividends in there. Do the table. Yeah, so other than the NAs, the dividends are in there. There's just obviously not dividend data for every single day, especially I think earlier on in some of these companies' lives. But it's there, and then it's connected to the data set. So now you've got that dividend data in there. You could just replace. Actually, let's do this. So let's say that the stock data is stock div is equal to is this. There's another cool function that I like with dplyr. It's called case when. So let's say stock data. Just look at it again. So we do have these stock div. Sorry. Stock div. Oh, duh. Okay, stock div head. There we go. So we have all these NA values here, but we could Actually, let's just view this real quick. So if we're scrolling down, I'm just looking for just trying to see. This is back in 2008. I think that was before Apple had a stock dividend. Yeah. So the most recent one was like 2012. And I guess Amazon, got Amazon here, right? Yeah. I guess they've never had a dividend before. Just verify. I should have just done like Amazon dividend, whatever. If these four, it looks like, yeah, okay. So they probably don't have a dividend. In either case, let's look at this. So now we've got this stock dividend data put together. And then that column name was named dividend. So let's say mutate dividend is equal to the case when dividend, is dot na dividend. This little thing here is going to say give it a 0, and then else, just leave it where it is. Dividend not found. Was there a different name? Dividends. And so here now we've, well, we could also call this dividends here. DEN, dividends. You know, with as much time as I've spent in finance, I should know how to spell dividends. Okay, so now we've kind of replaced those NAs with zeros, and I really like this case when function. For example, empty cars head, let's just look at it. You could get really ridiculous. A case when, oh, sorry, we should do, it's got to be within the mutate function because we're creating a column. Mutate, dumb stuff, is equal to the case when, let's see, q sec is less than 17 turkeys. AM is equal to 0. Infinity drat is less than 3. This, and then otherwise I am hungry for lots of wine. I don't know what's going to show up. Let's see, type character. Okay, let's do as that character. As that character. Yeah, we can't create new, we can't have mixing classes. So now let's go to whatever this. So if this is first, you know, it's going to scroll down, and whatever condition happens first is what's going to happen initially. So if QSIC is less than 17, well, you know, then it gets turkeys. Otherwise, if AM is equal to 0, give it infinity as a character. If you don't settle either of those conditions and look at this, if it's less than 3, give it this random number. It looks like we never ran into that case. And so then, okay, well, I'm hungry for lots of wine. Okay, well, that sounds like a good idea. Okay, there. I've had a little sip of my wine. But that's the case one function. There's some other things that I think are really cool. So let's just look at empty cars again. These are things that I use like every single day. Empty cars. Let's group. Let's just do this. Let's select. Just make this smaller. MPG, AM, and MPG. So now we just have these two columns. Let's group by AM, and then and this group by is like, let's split this data set up into many data sets without having to split up the data set. So let's do mutate. And what happens if we said mean MPG? That mean MPG. Well, what you'll notice is that because we use this group by function, it's going to, every time you use some of these like mutate or summarize functions, it's going to look at it in relation to this grouping. So we've got this group of AM here. Well, you can see that this mean MPG is the mean of just the AM. So let's actually, to make this a little bit more clear, and then let's do like, I don't know if we can do head of, no, we can't do that. Point being is that because we have, AM grouped together, the average MPGs of only the AMs, that are either 0 and 1, that's the number you're going to get over here. So whenever we get to AM1, we're going to have that same MPG. The difference with mutate and summarize is that mutate keeps all of that data frame or that tibble together in its own large data set. Summarize is going to just kind of pull it all down into like a summary statistic. So we've got 0 and 1, and the average mile per gallon for I think a manual transmission would be 0. Then for the automatic, I think it's 0, 1, 1 for true for automatic transmission. So the automatics tend to get better MPG according to this data set. Let's see. There's always something else that I could talk about here. But I think I'm just going to leave it at that. You can get into some really interesting things where with those nested data frames where you could run like a 1,000 different like regressions on 1,000 different data sets you'd created by nesting data frames or whatever. There's a really good example, and this is using that per package. Hadley, like speech. That's super general, but let's go to YouTube. There's a really good video to check out. Let's see. Yeah, managing many models in R would probably be good. Actually, here we go. I believe it's this PlotCon one here where, yeah, this is it. So look up PlotCon 2016 Hadley Wickham to find some really cool stuff that you can do with per dplyr with these nested data frames, which is the primary point of this talk here. Anyways, I hope that was a good introduction to some of these things. Sorry I'm a little long-winded sometimes, but if you have any questions, just let me know. Alrighty.